Thank you for the introduction. My theme behind the attitude, disaster and disease, get in touch with Buddha age. This content, introduction. Okay, and at last slide, I explain summary as a review in a picture. Introduction. This presentation is based on my personal experiences of disasters and diseases, but mainly disease. Kumamoto earthquakes took place in April 2016, and aftershocks continued nearly 1 year. In October of the same year, I took the operation, medical operation. 1 year after, I took the second operation. These 2 years, I saw various kinds of attitude of people facing earthquakes or diseases in the neighborhood or in a hospital, and especially I observed the process of the change of not only my attitude to diseases, but also ideas on the behavior of philosophers who face the death. For example, Socrates may have been an egoist when he tried to keep his wife and child at a distance. As you know, it's written in title. Meaning of war and meaning of life, meaning of death, good life, and the salvation in a religious sense. Establishing my attitudes and considering those ideas, I recognize that the difficulties often cause 2 kinds of response to us, positive and negative. And here lies the significance of the concept of virtue. However, I also thought that 2 kinds of response have a common base. That is, namely, the base is a double-edged sword. Fortunately, the difficulty often functioned positively on me. I experienced that the difficulty of the diseases, as it were, blew miscellaneous thoughts and unnecessary desires off, and I felt free. I wanted to explicate the nature of that experience, and if possible, to get in touch with the nature of religion, especially Buddha nature in Buddhism. Similarity of disasters and diseases. Disasters are, in a very important sense, similar to diseases, especially serious diseases. They cause serious harm to us and often take place suddenly. Furthermore, the attitude to them are also similar. Our attitudes to disasters have 3 phases, namely 1, preparation and response. Response is just after the earthquake, and just after the event, we act quickly. And restoration from the damage. They are applicable also to the case of disease. 1, we prepare for or try to prevent the disease. 2, respond to the disease. And 3, try to recover from it. So they have three phases in common: disaster and disease. When did this start? Because I must be punctual.
地元です。
3時o'clock。さあ、3o'clock。Normally bias. Normalcy bias. Moreover, the attitude to disasters and diseases have an important character in common. When we prepare for or respond to them, we tend to neglect their serious reality and think that we are safe or still we are safe. We are safe now, so we don't have to move now. We are likely to regard disasters or serious diseases as an extension of normal daily life. For example, as the Great East Japan earthquake occurred in 2011, many people didn't evacuate, didn't move from the place till they saw the tsunami coming. And a lot of lives that were savable were lost. The tragedy was repeated many times after the valuable lesson from the Great East Japan earthquake. In the field of social psychology and disaster psychology, this tendency of neglecting or underestimating the undesirable information is called normalcy bias. So bias regarding the dangerous situations as not dangerous, as normal. So it's a very risky bias. So it is often called normalcy bias. Behind the normalcy bias, we can find the tendency of normalization or habituation, which appears in three phases of preparation: response and restoration. So preparation phase, and in response phase, and in restoration phase, we see the normalcy bias. It may be surprising that not only humans, but also animals seem to have it. So it may be surprising. You may not be surprised, but I was surprised to find that all animals have the same tendency. For example, according to dog trainers, when we train dogs, we use their tendency or habituation or the behaviors which cause desirable events or which don't cause undesirable events. Dogs prefer stable and normal lives. So it is one example of this process of normalization or habituation in animals. And we find another example when we see the TV scene where herbivorous animals, for example, ox, cow, or deer, eat grass just near the lions eating victims. So lions are eating their victims, their deer. Lions are eating deer just near that scene. Deer, a lot of deer are eating grass. Why don't they run away to the safe place? For them, weak animals to eat grass there seems to be a kind of habituation of extraordinary situations. Probably they believe that we are safe or they are eating, so now we are safe. So the same bias appears, normal bias. It will give us a hint as to the issue of happiness for animals. The problem, the issue of happiness for animals remains my problem. But this gives me a hint to think about it. I mentioned the tendency of normalization or habituation is a base of normalcy bias. So it's a base of negative bias, negative behavior. But it has both positive and negative aspects for us. Namely, it is a double-edged sword. For example, in a response phase in disasters, and this response phase is just after the shock of the earthquake, or just after the landslide, or any other disasters. If we act calm and self-possessed, properly habituating the extraordinary situations, the tendency appears positive, because such an act will contribute to save the lives of myself and others, especially family members' lives. However, if we fall into the normalcy bias and ignore the clear and present danger, it's a very famous phrase. Badly habituated, namely badly habituated in the extraordinary situations, it appears negative. Then the same tendency appears both positive and negative, or positive or negative. Also in a response phase in serious diseases, the tendency appears positive or negative. After the shock of knowing the serious disease occurring in your body, if we act calm and properly deal with the difficulty, the tendency appears positive. But we fall into the normalcy bias and ignoring or underestimate the dangerous situation, it appears negative. So in disasters and in serious diseases, the same tendency appears positively or negatively. So it is a double-edged sword. Thus, the tendency of normalization or habituation has two aspects, and it seems possible to normalize or habituate our behaviors in a proper direction. Proper direction, namely to contribute to the good life. It's a matter of virtue. So training or refining our attitudes is a matter of virtue. And the purpose of the training is to judge, to make proper judgment in all situations. Why do we fall into the bias of normals? To answer, it's simple. We like to continue the normal and stable situation and continue to feel happiness. Therefore, the tendency, whether it works positively or negatively, is closely related to the state or feeling of happiness. In other words, it functions to make us or to feel us happy. If it works positively, it may lead to the issue of salvation in a religious sense. Or salvation is that saving from the many sufferings. Do you know Pimpin Korori? The Japanese people, most of the Japanese people know this word, Pimpin Korori, Japanese. We can see a sense of happiness or feeling of happiness, a sense of happiness. Most of Japanese people, 70% to 80%, think in a way of dying Pimpin. So according to some surveys, 70 to 80% of Japanese like to die in a way of Pimpin Korori. The Pimpin means in good health, and Korori means die suddenly. So for most Japanese people, the best way of dying is being in good health for a long time and die suddenly, with minimum pain and without thinking or without worrying about this. The problem, deep and serious problem of this, without thinking, worrying about it. Indeed, that way of dying is, in some sense, happy. But it is non-philosophical and non-religious happiness. Apart from the feasibility of Pimpin Korori, so in reality, Pimpin Korori is very difficult to realize. Sudden death without thinking about one's death has some problems. He or she doesn't have enough time to talk with the family about the significance of living with a family. That believed the family, rest family after someone's death, believed will be absent. How to deal with affairs after sudden death. And he or she misses a valuable opportunity of thinking deeply on the meaning of life and death, which is given to only humans. If we succeed in the task to normalize or habituate our behaviors in a proper direction, we will be able to live a full life, even if we confront serious difficulties or sufferings one after another. The living a full life in this context involves freedom from sufferings and, concretely speaking, living calm, self-possessed, and open-minded, feeling satisfaction and full of compassion and so on. The meaning of living a full life. This life seems to be what Buddhism regards as its purpose, namely ultimate freedom from sufferings by overcoming the cravings in all forms. It is a matter of salvation. Enlightenment or awakening. Enlightenment is the purpose of Buddhism, also awakening, the same. And salvation are two, so enlightenment and awakening, one. And the second is salvation. Two aspects of the purpose of Buddhism. If it is possible to distinguish them, the former entails the latter, but not vice versa. I think so. The former needs enough knowledge and special training. The latter may not need them, especially in some sect of Japanese Buddhism, a kind of Mahayana Buddhism. It is said strong belief is necessary and sufficient for attaining salvation. Here we may perhaps get in touch with the concept of Buddha nature. Buddha nature is, in Japanese, it is called Buddha nature, which is the basis of Buddhahood and enlightenment awakening. In this context, Buddhahood, enlightenment awakening are almost the same. Through the history of Buddhism, Buddha nature received a lot of interpretation, such as impermanence, vast emptiness, true self, the hidden essence within all sentient beings, the potential for attaining Buddhahood. But according to that, Buddha nature has mainly three meanings. One, underlying ontological reality or essential nature, which is functionally equivalent to a self in an Upanishadic sense. Two, the absolute or truth body, which penetrates all beings, which is functionally equivalent to Brahman in an Upanishadic sense. Three, the womb or matrix of Buddhahood existing in all beings, which provides beings with the possibility of awakening. So number three is concerned with the possibility of awakening, the main concern. So possibility of awakening. Setting aside the ontological interpretation of word two, we now focus on the interpretation three, the womb or matrix of Buddhahood existing in all beings or in all sentient beings, in all lives, which provides beings with the possibility of awakening. It says, one, Buddha nature exists in all beings, particularly in all sentient beings, in all lives, living things. Number two, Buddha nature provides beings with the possibility of awakening. It might be possible to regard living a full life, involving freedom from sufferings, living calms, reposes, and so on, as realization of ultimate happiness. The ultimate happiness is similar to awakening. If the tendency of normalization or habitation is trained continuously to proper direction, it may provide us with a virtue like ultimate happiness. Then the tendency seems similar to the third meaning of Buddha nature. That tendency I mentioned seems similar to the third meaning of Buddha nature, and it seems to be at the base of Buddha and awakening. Most of us don't know Buddha nature, work in our everyday life. Now we can understand why it is often said in some sect of Buddhism, now we are Buddha now. In this situation, in our ordinary life, we are Buddha. In some sect, it is. That tendency has two aspects, positive and negative. Therefore, continual refinement is needed. Continually. So, Japanese priest Dogen says, we polish the clear mirror. Clear mirror need not to be polished, but we polish clear mirror continuously. To realize Buddha nature, establish the virtue of ultimate happiness, it is necessary to realize and refine that tendency continuously. Animals have also Buddha nature, animals. But as they cannot train themselves, they cannot realize by themselves. Is it possible to realize Buddha nature in animals or plants? If it is possible, it may be done by humans. Namely, Buddha statue is an object of worship or mantra. If Buddha nature can be regarded as such a tendency, it works in everyday life as well as in disasters and diseases. Moreover, if we can regard Buddha nature as order, formation, and order restoration, it may be called life. And let's review in a picture. I stated the similarity between the normalcy virus, negatively and positively calm response. Negative, positive, and double is solved. The tendency of normalization is the base of this response. The humans and animals have this tendency in common. Everyday life, this tendency appears. Seek happiness, feel happiness. The tendency works, making us feeling happiness. And positively train and refine, only human can. No, animals can realize only by human. The Buddha statue mantra, and we may reach ultimate happiness at large and awaken, free from suffering, vision, and this is the realization of Buddhahood. It can be said, then Buddha nature exists in all beings, and Buddha nature provides possibility of awakening. So it is a third meaning. Buddha nature exists in all beings and provides the possibility of awakening. The two elements. But in all beings, humans and animals and the plants, mandala plants, humans and plants have in common this tendency. And this tendency is based on the possibility of ultimate happiness or awakening. Then exists in all beings and provides the possibility of awakening is this tendency of normalization. So the reasoning leads to that conclusion. Then Buddha nature is tendency of normalization in my reasoning. So we can say, in some sect, say we are Buddha now, because tendency of normalization works in everyday life, positive and negative. So, thank you for attention. This my presentation.
Thank you, Professor Takahashi, for your excellent presentations. Always I love your modeling. In every presentations, finally, you give us very clear and distinct idea about the thought, what you are exploring. So, first of all, I am going to discuss the presentations what we have done. I have found 5 theses from your presentation. This is 1 that is about attitude. This is 2 that is about management. This is 3 that is about safety. This is 4 that is normalcy bias and normalizations or habituation. And this is 5 is Buddha nature. Okay, this is 1 that is attitude. You want to say attitude to disasters and disease have an important character in common. It's fine. And in the management thesis, you want to claim the preparations for the disaster, response to the disaster, and restoration from the damages are applicable also in the case of diseases. And in the safety thesis, you claim when you are preparing for a response to them, we tend to neglect their serious reality and think that we are safe, still we are safe, we are safe, or still we are safe. Actually, that is the basis of normalcy bias. There is also another thesis that is normalizations or habituation. There is a 2 aspect, positive aspect and negative aspect. I am not going to analyze these things, already you have explained. Okay, I don't have any observations, I don't have any questions, just I want to share my knowledge with the knowledge of your presentations. For example, if you represent disaster as a D1 and disease as a D2, can we mathematically, as 2 plus 2 equal to 4, or can we mathematically make an equation D1 equal to D2, that is disaster equal to D2? Okay. If you think so, that is disaster is equal to disease 2, then my question is here. In the disaster, the survivors of disaster get kindness, usually. Survivors of disaster get more priority and opportunity in the society, and they also sometimes treated as a heroic one. But in the case of disease, for example, the survivors of Ebola, swine flu, or HIV/AIDS diseases who have had family members die also suffer from lot of stigmatization. So even after they recover, the community still has a very strong stigma against them and do not want them in social places such as market, in the homes or worship places. My question is here, if the case of kindness involved with disaster and if the stigma involved with the case of diseases, how can we compare from the equation of equality that disaster is equal to disaster 2? That is my first observations. Actually, I may be wrong, but I'm getting this kind of questions over the presentations. Other than that, in our decision-making process, that there is my second observations. In decision-making process, particularly in the behavioral biases, we have a lot of biases, form of biases, for example, normalcy bias, omission bias, outcome bias. Okay? So when we faced with an emergency case, there are two instinctual reactions, three instinctual reactions. Either we fight against the problem, or we flight from the situation, or we make ourselves as a freeze. I think you want to compare freezing situations with the normalcy bias. If it is so, what is the place of teaching? What is the place of learning? What is the place of training in our regular life? All the time, we are not staying in the position of normalcy bias. Most of the cases, we want to survive from the situations by our technology, applying our common knowledge and helping other peoples, etc. So, the fourth thesis you are talking about Buddha nature. My question is here, can Buddha nature help us to overcome crises, pain, sufferings and bad things from our life? Or can we easily attain Buddha nature? Or can everybody attain Buddha nature without any giving effort? So this is my another questions. And there's another narrations about the paper. If we take a stand in favor of Buddha nature, we must have to say about the Tathagata essence of Buddha. Tathagata essence, that is the Tathagata essence sutta, where Buddha says all embedded beings are constantly endowed with the essence of Buddha. That's one sort of essence, Tathagata. Tathagata, Buddha nature, that is equivalent to Tathagata, and Tathagata is equivalent to our trying distinctive characters, and distinctive characters of Buddha is equivalent to liberation, and liberation is equivalent to Nirvana. That's the process of Buddha nature. Finally, it leads to the Nirvana. I think Nirvana is the final reaching point. So, my point is here, if we take a stand on behalf of normalcy bias, then how can we entertain the Buddha nature, where the Buddha nature, that is a driving process. A person cannot attain Buddha nature without any giving effort. There's a long process. From the very beginning, he must have to know the four causes, and he or she must have to know the eightfold path. Then he must have to know the Shila, and then he must have to know the Brahma Vihar. Then finally, he or she should practices these things in his personal life. After completing these things in one's personal life, then it is possible to attain Nibbana. So Nibbana, that is a long process, and that cannot be earned suddenly. So in that case, how can we compare normalcy bias with Buddha nature, or if we entertain normalcy bias to understand disaster and diseases, how can we entertain in that situation the Buddha nature? So, all these are my questions. So further we can compare disaster with disease or disease with disaster, and further their psychology and dimensions and situations are completely different. So in that case, would we be fallacious to compare the situation of disaster with diseases? So maybe I'm not sure whether my question or observation is right or wrong, but I think would we consider these questions when we are going to analysis such kind of topics? That is my observations, and it's okay. Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you very much for your good questions. One is diverse between the disaster and disease. I focused on the similarity, but you mentioned not the similarity, but this similarity between them. And if I understand correctly what you said, so survivors is the example. Survivors of the disasters will be welcomed to the community or society, but survivors, for example, HIV disease has stamped the stigma.
Yes.
So bad stamp. That is totally different. I agree with your idea. So disaster and disease has in some aspects similar, but in other aspects not similar. And so disaster ethics and disease ethics maybe, if there are two ethics, they overlap in some fields, but not in other fields. And the problem of stigma is a very serious issue in this disease ethics. And the second one is, what is the second one? Your question about normalcy bias and training.
Tathagata Buddha.
Tathagata
Buddha nature.
Tathagata Buddha nature. And Nirvana. Nirvana.
Yeah.
Yes. Tathagata Buddha nature is this one.
Yes.
So I concentrated on the aspect of possibility of awakening. And awakening is, in some sense, different from nirvana. Nirvana is, in a literary sense, death, good death, or the best death. But awakening is not death. Maybe it may be called, more correctly, ultimate happiness. Then, so Tathagata, the interpretation of Tathagata or Buddha nature, we have a lot of interpretation, a lot of theories, and many we can search. We cannot search in detail. But there are three kinds kinds of meanings of Buddha nature or Tathagata. For example, what is Tathagata? Asked by the disciple. Japanese Buddhist Dogen replied, that tree. That tree is Tathagata. So incredible. But in some sense, it's true. Because for Dogen, Tathagata is the truth, real truth. And everything has truth. Everything here or there, whether in the past, in the future, is the truth. So what is the truth? That tree. Or this flower, or this computer. Also many interpretations are possible about the Tathagata or Buddha nature. And the third is from normalcy bias to the nirvana, you asked me. So it takes long time, long process. So yes, I know, and I mentioned Dogen, Buddhist Dogen, we have to polish, brush up, clear mirror day by day, continuously. So it's an endless process of polishing our mind. The mirror is our mind. Then we may reach the state of nirvana. However, my point is this ultimate happiness is similar to the philosophically considered happiness. For example, Aristotle's the concept of happiness, or the other philosophers' happiness. Then I refer many places to Buddhism, the concept of Buddhism, but this line of thought is very philosophical rather than religious, because I didn't mention the name of God or believe in God. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sensei, for making good sense. So the floor is open for asking any questions. Professor.
Professor, thank you very much for your very nice presentation, drawing the parallels between disaster and disease. Very fascinating. But I would like to know from you, what is the attitude of the Buddha nature, one who has attained this stage? Assume that somebody has attained this stage. So what would be his attitude towards this world? And secondly, I would like to bring to your kind notice, in Hindu philosophy, we have a concept called Jivan Mukta, which means a liberated self or liberated soul. That is the person who lives in this world, but he is not affected by the pressures and pains of the world. So, would you say that the Buddhahood or Buddha nature is similar to this? And it's very interesting to note that even the animals and plants can also experience this Buddha nature. The only thing is they are not able to realize that. We have a similar concept in Hinduism, because they say even animals even spider, there are some mythological stories which says even a spider can attain liberation. And there are various stories that are given in Hindu philosophy. So this I think comes very close to the Buddha, Buddhahood or Buddha nature. But one thing which I would like to point out here is that the pain which one is undergoing. For example, in Indian tradition, we always make a distinction between body and the self. The body may be, undergoing a lot of pain, but the sage or saints, they may not feel the pain. For example, in Hinduism, we come across many great sages and saints who lived during the 20th century. Though they had a disease like cancer, for example, they never feel the pain of it. This is what they say. If they want some operation, when the doctors want to make some operation, they say, please do it. But at the same time, it is said, they never experience the pain. So they always make a distinction between the self and the body. The body is undergoing a pain, but whereas the self is not affected by the pain or what would be the attitude of Buddhist approach? How do you distinguish this between with the Buddhist understanding or?
Well, number one is attitude to Buddha nature.
Yeah.
What is attitude to Buddha nature? But I stated the attitude to disasters or disease attitude. So not attitude to Buddha nature. But in attitude, the base is the tendency. And it's Buddha nature. So Buddha nature appears in that attitude. Okay. So the relationship between attitude and Buddha nature. And the second is about self.
Yeah, liberated self.
Liberated self, yes. Number three, yes, this one. Oh, it says Buddha nature is in all beings, particularly in all sentient beings. No, not here. This under an ontological reality or essential nature, which functions equivalent to a self in a Upanishadic sense. Of Buddhism is the origin is Hinduism. Then Buddha nature has some origin. And the absolute what is body equal to Brahma. But your question is about the self.
Yeah.
Yes, in Buddha nature, the Upanishadic self appears or maybe very similar. And about the body and the mind, body and self.
Yeah, self.
In traditionally speaking, Buddhism don't distinguish them clearly. For example, the basis, emptiness or dependence of all of the things. The body and the self depend with each other. So body, self dependence, or they are in essence empty. Okay.
Thank you.
Time is over?
Yeah.
Time is over. So I think we have to stop here. Thank you, Professor.